and welcome to the How to Use Your TV Skills in Digital session. My name is Ed Taylor. I'm the Managing Director of an unscripted production company called Honeybee, and also the host of a podcast called The Secret Diary of a Producer. It's really great to be here, seeing you're such an important event, and I think there's not that many industries that can kind of get together in these times and help find solutions, so it's really good. With less traditional formats being commissioned and therefore less work opportunities in these areas, people are looking at the world of digital as a space of employment, and this session hopes to give you advice on what digital actually means, how transferable your TV skills are, and what practical steps you can take to help you land your first role in digital or have it as part of a portfolio career. So we've got a fantastic panel joining us today. So we've got Hal Arnold, who's the Director of Production at Little Dot Studios. We've got Stephen Parnell, who's the Commissioning Executive at Channel 4. Chantelle Burndam, Production Manager, After Party Studios, and host of the podcast The Art of the Graft. And last, it says but not least, Danny Lorimer, Creative Director of Digital Studios at Sony Pictures. So to kick us off, can you just briefly give us a sense of what you do now and how you got there? Starting with you, please, Hal.
Yes, of course. So, I'm Hal, I'm Director of Production at Little Dot. So we describe ourselves as a social media agency, a digital media network, and a multi-platform production company. Obviously, the latter is where I'm interested. So we're a digital-first production company, full service, creative development, production, and post-production. We are digital natives, and that's where we started on YouTube, and that's where we've continued, obviously diversified across all the social platforms, but also we do feature films, linear, TikTok videos, live streams, TVCs, podcasts, so all shapes and sizes of content, but really it's always social first. We approach everything through that internet lens. We won the first short form BAFTA award a few years ago, and we work for clients like BBC, Netflix, Amazon, Google, Apple. So essentially, in the digital space, you have to be genre agnostic. So we do all shapes and sizes of things. So that means we require a vast kind of talent pool of freelancers across multiple specialisms. They're the lifeblood of what we do. I've been at Little Dot pretty much since our inception. We're 13 years old. I've been there for 12. I joined as a freelance digital video producer on a 2-week contract when we were 15 people in an office above the book club in Shoreditch. We're now 500. We're global with offices all over the world, and we've diversified what we do, but essentially taking the best of TV and putting it onto the internet is still really our USP, and that's where we sit. So what I've done as part of my journey at Little Dot is build that production function from the ground up, so we're now capable of delivering across all those different formats in all those different ways.
Thanks, Hal. Stephen?
Looking at you, Hal, I realised I should have written notes. I'm a digital commissioning exec at Channel 4, primarily and only focusing on branded content, which is us kind of exploiting the whole of Channel 4's inventory, past and present. Could be really modern 4.0 stuff, or it could be repurposing sort of Secret Life of 4 and 5-year-olds with Eon Energy and bringing it back to sort of digital-first audience. So focusing on YouTube, social, and Channel 4 streaming. Before that, I was working in production, in linear production, started as a runner, moved into sort of studio formats and studio shows, a lot of magazine shows, and then development, and then from development started eking my way into digital content, because those are kind of the briefs that were available to actually convert at the time. So yeah.
Thank you. Chantelle?
Hi everyone. So I work at After Party Studios. We are a very audience-heavy digital company. We do branded, we do sports, we do commercial, we do scripted. We actually work with 4.0 on Saturday Sundays, Don't Get Catfish and Hear Me Out, which are the 3 projects I worked on there. I started as a production manager. That was my first job with After Party, working across all the different development parts. I now mainly focus on sports, so working with Sky Sports, EFL, on a show called The League of 72, which is on its 3rd season. After Party is a really great company because we work from the development side, the post-production, pre-production, and my brain's gone blank. So we basically deal with all the aspects within production. It's grown quite amazingly the last 2 years I've been there. We started off, I think there was like 14 people when I started, including freelancers. We're now up to about 42 people. Working with Parnell, working with Prime, Netflix, Sidemen. It's been a really great journey. That's me.
Thanks, Chantelle. Danny?
Hello, I'm Danny Lorimer. I'm the creative director of Sony Pictures' new digital studio. We've just launched our first channel. We're going to be launching 3 or 4 channels a year, all kind of self-funded by Sony. Our first channel is 100 Questions with Tom Simons. Please all subscribe. I started my career in TV and then went to Lad Bible, setting up all of their kind of original content side and their YouTube channels, making things like Smack Wars and Agree to Disagree, and then jumped around different production companies like Cowshed and Strongwatch, basically creating new shows on digital platforms. Digital original content's kind of what I do. I created Inside for the Sidemen, made the first series of that, and then now I've jumped across into Sony, and we're trying to start something again.
Thanks, Johnny. So the first question, I was looking at these questions this morning and I was thinking, what would I answer if this question was asked of me? And I really struggled to come up with a succinct response. So I'm really interested to see what these guys say. So the first question, digital is often sort of seen as the hallowed land, the promised land. You know, TV is difficult, so just go into digital and you'll be fine. So the first question is, what exactly is digital? Let's start with you. Hal.
No pressure. So I think digital isn't just YouTube. Digital is a playground. It's something that can be seen on a screen or heard in your ears. But beyond that, it's kind of anything. And you just have to be mindful of kind of what the output is and who your audience is to then inform the creative, if that makes sense. Because something that might work on TV won't work on TikTok, won't work on YouTube. So you make it bespoke to each one. But it is a playground, especially now. It's still growing. There are still new ways of exploiting it and making it. You look at how podcasts have evolved in the past 5 years. Look at that now, how it's leaned into video. Look at what Netflix have now done and are doing with Gary Lineker in the World Cup. And that is just one example of one particular type of genre and format. At the moment, for example, I'm working with a big brand who I can't name, but where normally they would have spent money on a big TVC campaign in the autumn, we're going to do a big mad Squid Game style competition show with them that will be a YouTube live stream. That's going to be brand new and something that's never quite been done before if we get it right. And that's just an example of kind of where things are going now. Brands have always been brave and will push things, but broadcasters are going there too. Again, you look at what the BBC are doing, especially with their new DG. So I think it's kind of anything you want it to be, and that's what's so exciting about it. You don't even need now people to fund you. You can self-commission. We have an SVOD channel, one of our subsidiaries, History did, where we are making content ourselves, and then subscribers are paying, and we're reinvesting that. So we are self-commissioning and making things on our owned and operated channels. You can make your own podcasts. It's a playground. It's whatever you want it to be.
Thanks, Hal. Stephen, what is it digital to you?
I don't know if anyone's been to the Broadcast Digital Awards before, but you will literally go up against channels and platforms like More4, 4.0, Cowshed, and you're like, how do these things sit together? Basically, I think the term is a bit kind of confused because you've got linear over here, and then, you know, streaming's digital, but streaming is just an extension of the broadcaster. YouTube is this amazing platform for like uninhibited storytelling. You can achieve so many different things, and lots more is possible than on that platform than it is on a broadcaster. And then obviously socials are completely different entities themselves and should never be grouped into one thing. Basically, they're tools for reaching different audiences, and it's very important to understand what audience is on what platform. We fall into a habit quite often where we'll get a bit lazy and we'll cut our cut downs and just whack them on Instagram, whack them on TikTok, and then just do a YouTube hero that we feel will reach a lot of people. And as soon as you start to do that and just sort of homogenize your content, you realize it will just start to fail on different platforms because you can't achieve everything for everyone on those platforms. TikTok and Instagram are very different ways of consuming content, and those are just the 4 that I kind of operate on in Channel 4. So like I kind of focus on those, and I don't really want to focus on anymore because the more you have to do it, the more you've got to learn about different sensibilities, ways of working. But in short, they are just tools for reaching audiences, and that's how I see digital stuff.
Okay, thanks, Stephen. Chantelle?
I think digital is quite like a limitless entity, to be honest. I mean, I never really understood it when I first got into it. And learning about it's just been absolutely incredible because, again, you know, working with 4.0 and all these other different companies, I would not have thought that that would be a space for it, and actually finding having those conversations, merging those conversations, and just having these opportunities to say, okay, well, we want to do this, you want to do this, let's find a way to make it work together. I think that's the main thing as well, is actually just having those conversations and not closing off to to those ideas and having the opportunities to brainstorm. One thing I love about working at After Party is that we sit down with our content creators. These people have been on YouTube for the last 10, 15 years, and we brainstorm with them. We want to know what they want to do, what works for their audiences. And again, when they get to even the editing stage, it's finding the right editors that make sense for the content, for what they're looking to do, the style that they want to put on their platforms. It's really just about listening and understanding what people want. I think sadly, there's a point where with TV, it kind of has stayed quite static for a very long time and people haven't been listening, whereas we read the comments, we do the brainstorms, we do the focus groups, and that has to be the forefront, and I think that's how digital will just keep going.
It's so reactive, isn't it? Like the community, especially on 4.0, like the engagement, any sort of linear show that used to go out, you'd look on Twitter, wouldn't you, and just see all the negativity that kind of piles in because it was just a space full of just bile, basically.
Yeah.
But then you see 4.0 on any of the platforms, because it's built for a specific audience, it's just pure positivity. It's like 99% positive sentiment. Everyone in there is just having a conversation because it's built for the audience that it's serving. And it's taken years to get there, hasn't it? Like it wouldn't start out like that, it's just got better and better at doing it. And that's the point, is it's niche, it's just focusing on the audience it needs to serve rather than everyone.
Yeah.
I think that's right. And just to add to that, it's a dialogue. It's a dialogue with your audience. You've never had feedback faster because you upload a video to YouTube, you'll see comments straight away. And sometimes when we're doing like a long running format, we actually build in a test and learn phase. So you'll ideate on a format, you'll produce an initial tranche of it, you'll put it out there, you'll see your audience feedback very quickly, and then you can amend and tailor it. And like you say, you engage with that community and that niche, and then you grow it from there and it becomes a two-way conversation.
Sorry, I just want to add, the one thing I've also thought was quite interesting is I've never been a person to even look at comments, even on Instagram or YouTube or anything like that. And it's actually so interesting hearing people say, actually, have you tried reaching out to this person, this YouTuber, this content creator? And then that kind of gets our gears turning quite a lot as well, because these are the people who you want to sort of like please as the viewer, but you get the ideas from like 12-year-olds who actually they watch the content so intensely that you're like, yeah, it actually kind of makes sense. So I think it's also, it doesn't matter what age you are when you're within digital. I think everyone's voice should be heard, and also like it's up to us to kind of create the space for it to be heard and understood.
I think digital is basically just video on the internet, and like it's. I think the mistake people often make is thinking about it from a very individual platform level and going, I make videos for YouTube. It's not about that. It's about how do you use the internet, whatever tool you're using on that platform, to get as many people as possible to watch your show, because you're getting out to them. You're finding ways. You are your own marketing team essentially, who's pushing people towards you. So I think it's just video on the internet.
So the interesting thing about what everybody said here actually is that broadcasters for years have had huge audience research teams. They've done focus group, they've done all those kind of things. So that's not new, but the difference about it is the speed, is the responsive speed. And I think you could argue now that everything is digital because your TV arrives through your television, it's all digital. It's just there's different pillars within that digital, and some of it is more fast moving than others, and arguably what you guys are all doing is much more fast moving than what a lot of broadcasters are doing with linear, and waiting months before they recommission to get all the feedback. It's done and dusted, right?
Yeah, we're not building for slots. Do you know what I mean? We're not going this 8 p.m. shoulder peak. We're going, we need to reach ABC1 audience, we need to reach 16 to 24-year-olds, we need to do this. So how do you do that? You build something that's specific for them, especially in branded. That's how we operate. We get given briefs that target an audience and tell us who we need to reach and what they need to film, what we need to make them believe about the brand. And then we build the content specifically to go after those people, rather than going, well, they might be watching 6 p.m. because there's a follow-on from Hole in the Wall. Is that still a show? Great show. And then you build a show that fits and follows on from that, whereas this is specific and built for the audience.
Yeah, and I think just to add, what's interesting as well though is even though you are making these niche things and it's bespoke for a particular audience, people are still are now starting to actually access the content through the same screen. Your smart TV has the YouTube app. We work very closely with YouTube. It's such a focus of theirs to continue to grow that, to start to rival streamers like Netflix, for example. So people are now getting the content delivered into their living rooms in the same way they would watch linear, but they'll be watching something that's very specifically made and tailored for them in the digital space.
So, can we all agree that we are content producers? Like everybody, if you make linear television or what, we are content producers. So the next question, really, which I think is the one that everybody is most interested in hearing your perspective on, is how do you take those what would be considered to be the traditional skills of making linear or heritage television and apply them to digital? And are they actually different? Is it actually a case of identity rather than it being a very, very different mindset?
I don't think they're different at all. I think it's all transferable. I jump between both TV and digital. I started in TV as a post-production runner on TV and features, and then I saw a very forward-thinking agency. This was 2009, so YouTube had only been around about 4 years, but they were really leaning into digital and doing kind of, back then it was like MSN doing like microsites and having like video players. It wasn't even kind of embedded YouTube, it was just bespoke players. But brands were, even at that point, making stuff. So I had an opportunity to go there as an assistant producer, and I was doing format development, I was shooting it, I was editing it, because the budgets were tiny. And I think that's the only differentiator, really. The budgets are smaller, and that unfortunately informs everything else. Your teams are smaller, your timelines are tighter, you have to leverage tech, you have to be resourceful and smart with how you deploy your resources. Doesn't mean you can't do it, it's all very possible. And there's so much I think we can learn and should learn and keep learning from TV in digital, especially when you get players like the BBC coming into the space now. You're still quite rightly going to have safeguarding considerations, welfare, compliance. There's still that underlying rigour that you need. And actually in the digital space, if you're a content creator who started yourself, you probably don't have that because you've been doing it yourself and you haven't needed it and you've reached a big audience and you've grown. You will lack that kind of basic understanding of copyright, for example. So everything you know in the TV space is applicable to digital and will continue to be so, because when we deliver a TikTok video to the BBC, we've still got to have all that paperwork in place. We've still got to do our Silver Mouse work, I'm afraid. So it's all very transferable. It's just a mindset, and it's just a willingness to go in eyes open and go, okay, the team will be smaller, roles are a bit more fluid, things are faster, but that's the benefit of it as well. You will work on more stuff. You won't do one show for 6 months. You'll do a different show every month in a different genre.
Danny, what do you think?
I couldn't agree more. Like, the skills are incredibly transferable over into digital, but you do have to be prepared to wear many hats. Like in TV, it was very much more, when I was in TV, it was very much more you had specialisms and you were in a role and you were sorted into that role, and that's where you kind of stuck. And in digital, before I went to Lab Bible, I'd come through development and at Remarkable in TV. And when I went to Lab Bible, suddenly I was having to direct all the shoots. I was edit producing every video. I had to learn how to activate everything across all the different platforms. So it's like, I don't think you can be, there's less roles probably to be a kind of specialist in, and you have to just probably be a bit more prepared to go outside of what your job description is and be a member of a smaller team, because the budgets are much, much smaller.
Yeah, and Chantelle, you're not from a TV background going into digital, are you? You went from a completely different thing.
Yeah, I actually worked in the art world. So I worked for an artist called Rana Begum. Even before that job, I never really worked in production or had any admin jobs before. So I did that job for about 5 or 6 years. Really wanted to get into production. Didn't think I could because I didn't have a TV background. I didn't go to university, anything like that. It wasn't until my brother kind of kept pushing me to look into a job in production, and I realised everything's transferable. You're doing logistics, you're doing the finance side, you're doing the budgeting, you're looking after a team, you're looking after management, you're doing all the travelling stuff. It just works. I think as long as you've got such an open mind to be adaptable, there's no reason why it shouldn't work. And since I've worked at After Party, I think when I first started, a lot of people had worked in just TV before. So I basically spoke to my boss, Josh, and just said, look, do I have an opportunity here to bring some new people to the fold with different backgrounds? And immediately he said yes. So, it's going through different CVs, giving people an opportunity, but allowing them to know that we are a company that you can come to us, and you might have worked in TV for 5 years and never worked in digital. If you're a camp, if you're a producer, you're a soundie or whatever, everything is transferable. As long as you're open-minded to it, we're so open to work with you. And I think maybe people are a bit scared of digital because it is so vast, and it is I'm still learning how to get my head around it most times anyway. But we're with you along the ride. The minute you start with a project with us, it's, I want to be able to have the relationship. So we build it up for you to feel comfortable to come to another job. I never want to have someone come and film with us and just do that one job. Like, I want you to be able to go to branded side, go to the sports side, go to the scripted side, go to whatever you're interested in, tell me, and I try and make it work the best I can. But luckily I work with such great producers that they're so open to, yeah, cool, this person's never worked in sport, but they're a fantastic cam op, let's give them a go. They've only done documentaries, but they want to get into sport, let's give it a go. So it's great having an opportunity, and again, I can't tell you how I was so nervous getting into production, and I was, especially with After Party and all the stuff they were doing, didn't feel like I had the space. Even in my interview, I said, "Are you sure you want me on this job?" Because I know I don't watch YouTube.
Bold move.
Yeah, I don't watch YouTube. I don't really understand it that much. I'm not really on my phone that much anyway. And Josh, the main thing he said to me was, I want you to focus on the role. I want you to focus on what the job is and develop the job. So even since I've started, the systems that I've built, like ever since, the way we've made things a bit more seamless for each department has been really, really great. And again, we've now got Tamara, she's come on as a PC. And I'm now, like, we're working together, we're training each other, but even things that I've learned, I'm now kind of helping her along the way, and I want to continue doing that. And this is also why I started my podcast, The Art of the Graft. It was, I want to speak to everyone within different parts of this wonderful industry that is, no matter what your background is, let's have a conversation. Let's not feel like I have to spend my whole career and all my life in this one pocket, because the last thing I think we need in life is to feel pigeonholed.
There's a lesson in there, isn't there, about it's an insight rather than a lesson, which is very empowering. So in TV as freelancers, we're always, it's difficult because if you make a fact-end show, you can't do a history show, and if you do a history show, you can't do a science show, whatever it might be. But moving between them, they've been so siloed through the history of television. But actually, what you guys are saying is, in this promised land of digital, that those silos are much, maybe they don't even exist, or they're much, much smaller than they were.
Much more permeable. Much more permeable.
Yeah.
Like, if particularly from an editorial perspective, it's like you can shift. I had producers working across sport, factual, and entertainment, and because they were good at the job, like they were just good at making content. They knew how to make a room work when we were filming. So yeah, way more permeable from an editorial perspective, I think, anyway.
Oh, and from a production one for sure. So some of the best people I work with now in the freelance space did come from TV, and now essentially I've made them purely digital because I keep hiring them because they're so good. So to the point, you can kind of have diversify kind of your skill set and what genres you work in, but also having a specialism I think is no bad thing just to initially get you in the door, because again we're having to make such a diverse range of shows. I need experts in a particular show because I might not have made it. We'll be making a home makeover show over here, we're making a hard-hitting doc over there, we'll be making a competition format over there. I need an expert in each of those things, and I don't care if that's TV or digital experience, it's going to be very useful and helpful. So we were making a series of films for a massive private art gallery. I don't really know anything about contemporary art. I got a former arts commissioner at Channel 4 to come and produce it, and she was phenomenal because she was open-minded, she understood what the budget was, but she made it work. And now, she works across all of our different formats. She just finished a massive show for YouTube that we've just made, featuring kind of YouTube creators, kind of upskilling them for brand deals. Like, if you're good, you will be able to kind of diversify what your specialism is and just apply that same rigor.
Stephen, you take on that?
Yeah, to go back to what I said earlier, I do think the worlds of like digital and linear TV are just becoming the same thing eventually. They are moving both at the same time into kind of one similar space. We were talking about, Danny did Inside, the first series of that, and obviously the first time you do something like that, with creator-led, it's a bit chaotic, you're not probably, tell me if I'm wrong, but like doing the same kind of rigorous sort of things that we would have to do if we were doing a big linear commission. Not wrong. But that's catching up because those production companies are growing up and they're more likely to be sued. So they will try and get better at these things to not get sued. So we're going to notice the similarities between all of them, and more linear companies as well are branching into more digital stuff. I thought like Time Team is one of the best examples of a really old-fashioned kind of format that's just grown massively on digital, and it's on Patreon, and it's completely brought back a format, a skill set, kind of a whole almost almost genre back to content space, but just because there's now a way to put that on there without having to rely on the traditional commissioning model. So I do think it's going to kind of, hopefully there'll be a tipping point where it's just more opportunities for the same skill set. So it's just good to realise your skill set is still very relevant no matter where you go. But mine came originally, just to kind of go back to the original point, I was working on a lot of magazine shows, a lot of studio formats, and magazine shows like The One Show, Sunday Brunch, Saturday Kitchen, whatever it may be, all of those were sort of built around doing items and like producing 7 to 8 minute items on a random subject matter that Tim Lovejoy can kind of pick apart. Fun for everyone. And basically those items, every week we do a new one, research it, try and distill the most interesting points of a subject matter I had no idea about into something that is consumable for an audience that aren't really giving much attention span. So the idea of that is it's very similar to digital storytelling. You're doing the same thing. A lot of the shows, a lot of the things we do with brands or just in originals, you're just taking a subject matter, distilling it as compellingly as possible for an audience with a low attention span sometimes, and then putting it back out there. And I think that's a skill set I learned in TV, not in digital, and to be very good at it, and then it works in that space.
Yeah, I think just to add to that point, exactly that, like as well as kind of the rigor around making the show and your health and safety and your compliance and your release forms and stuff, having that storytelling ability and like narrative beats and being able to build a format that's compelling and repeatable and will actually tell your story is something that is sometimes lacking, I think, in the digital space, and something we can really learn from TV. Like you guys have the template there, I think.
So from each of you as a 101, right? Imagine you're a freelancer today, you've been working TV for 10 years, whether you're in the production side, the editorial side, doesn't really matter. And you've seen work dry up, you're not getting as much, it's difficult. What are you going to give them as your top tips to move into digital? What would you do in that situation to get you from where they are right now, whereby from the sounds of it, they've all got the skills you need, they're fully qualified. In fact, you'd welcome those skills in many ways because they address certain needs that you have. What should they do exactly right now to be able to get into your world? We'll start with you, Danny, and we'll work our way down.
I would say a lot of it is relationships still. Like it is digital's still quite a small industry, and I think most people are still getting their roles through the people that they've worked with in the past, and they've kind of find reliable. You've got less money to spend, you need someone to be as reliable as possible to deliver the job. The biggest thing I would say you can start making content. Like there's TikTok and Instagram in particular, Reels and TikTok are really good for kind of growing organically. Like you'll learn things by posting stuff and making stuff. Just get over the cringe of doing that and start making stuff. I would say that's, if you can show that you can build a digital following, even a small one, it's a good thing to have in an interview. But the single biggest thing I would say is watch digital content. Like the amount of freelancers I've interviewed who, when I ask what's your favorite YouTube channel, say Hot Ones or Chicken Shop Date is incredible.
Great shows.
Yeah, they're great shows, but it's like that's it's the first tier of entry. So it's like going. I think it's like applying for a TV company and not watching any TV. You have to know what's on YouTube, know who the creators are. I hired a channel manager recently, and one of the main reasons I hired him was because he mentioned the streamer Jim Skin in his interview, and I was like, you understand the industry, you know what's going on right now, you have an idea, got your finger on the pulse, so watch stuff. Would probably be my biggest point.
Chantelle?
So, I mean, I love a traditional TV, I can't lie, to a certain point. I think it's a very old way of me thinking, but CV is great because I still like to see what shows you've worked on, to what scale and how you developed your career. Recently, I've changed it up quite a bit. I've been using TikTok a lot. So I found that there's a Soundies and cam ops and like a boom operator that I spoke to the other day. I just messaged her saying, she made this fantastic reel about her career so far, and then she's trying to branch out her career, especially now she's moved to London. So I messaged her saying, hey, just send me your CV, here's my email, let's go for coffee sometime. I'm very like a face-to-face kind of person as well, so I'll come to a social event, come and chat to me, we'll go for coffee sometime. But I think you're right, it is actually just make content. It works. And for someone who doesn't really watch YouTube and TikTok and all that kind of stuff, that's the one thing that grips me more than anything is incredible, the amount of work that people are doing, and you're just making a 1 minute clip, and that gets me instantly. I will say, if you're going to send your CV, you can still send it, of course, that's fine. But I actually had a really good advice from Darren Lawford on one of my podcast episodes. And he was saying, it's so easy when you say, you see someone with just their name and CV, and you're like, cool. I'll be honest, most of the time, I will read that 5 days later. if you put in a subject something that really grips someone and say like, I'm the camp you want, I'm the sound you want, I'm the executive we should work together with. There's something about just change it up and be creative about it. We work in a creative industry, so just don't do something by the standard all the time. Like, put your spin on it and just make it a bit more fun. I think job hunting is hard as it is, but I think there's a level of it that just gets so daunting and a bit scary, and then you're just like, you're copy and pasting. I'm someone who can tell when you're copy and pasting. Do something that's different from the norm, and just make it a bit more fun and take the pressure off of it as well. Like, just be a bit silly with it. I had a sound recorder email me the other day, just asked me to go for a coffee, send me his CV. He's like, look, I've just moved to town. We're really great to have a chat, and we're going to have a chat next week. As much as it takes me 10 minutes to read a CV, it's 10 minutes to have a conversation in a coffee shop. So. And I do think other production managers should be as open. It shouldn't just be reading these CVs and stuff. You should have make it more fun and make it a bit more creative. But I think the engagement is so important, and just putting that time with someone, a Google chat, a Zoom chat, just find different ways to go about it. But I do think as scary as social media is, use it. Use what is right in front of you. As cringe as it can be, it does work. It really works.
The first step is making yourself known to people who are important in this industry. I mean, there's 3 of them sat right here, not me. Who, if you reached out to them and send them your CV, that is obviously step 1. Of course, that's the most important thing to do, and you've got some great tips there. If I saw you making a TikTok dance and I invited you to work, I might be a bit like, are you focused on the job? But it is obviously important to know. But I also don't think you just have to completely understand these platforms and completely know about it to do it. You understand making content, you understand what goes in and out of doing that to the highest level, and that some people do really well by doing that and creating their own stuff on the side, of course, and respect for it. But at the same time, it's like some people just want to crack on and do their job to the best of their abilities, and I think you also should be praised for doing that. And I think there's just an ability to show that side of yourself as well. Like, if you're a shit hot PM, then there's opportunities to work with us in digital, because one of the biggest things that we're seeing at the moment in digital is the PM role is becoming so much more important. Production is now such a more important role of working with us, because rather than being traditional production manager, you're project manager as well. And most of the indies we work with, because we work with a lot of linear indies, won't hire an additional project manager. They'll rely on the PM or the coordinator to do that role. So there's different things you could do to your job, I think, to really stand out as well, to work more closely, especially in branded. And of course, you just have to make yourself aware to the people that are doing the stuff. And it isn't necessarily digital first companies. We work with Electric Robin now, digital, I suppose. We're in Stella at the moment, DSP for Banner J. There's loads of companies we work with who are very linear companies, and if you say you're passionate about doing something different or really trying your arm on digital, they're always looking for people, because they're a lot like us. They don't necessarily have made that full leap into the space yet, so they're exploring it just as much as probably many people here are.
Yeah, I think all of that is right and good advice. And just to echo some of it, it's just watch stuff, get to understand the landscape. I think inevitably there was a bit of snobbery from the TV side to digital, let's be honest. When I worked in scripted for about 3 years, and there was definite snobbery there. This was 2014 type of thing. Just be open-minded, do your research, get to know the space, get to know the creators, the channels, and then just like you would, and like I was told when I first tried to get into the media, find the companies that make the stuff, do the research, so easy to do now, and then reach out to them with your CV. Again, we're going to be open-minded about it. If you don't have any digital experience, but you're amazing at what you do in your role, that's more than enough. And then I always try and have coffees with people. Like you say, a CV is great as a first step, but really getting to know someone and giving them the time. And we are open-minded to that. If we, just because we don't see digital on your CV, it doesn't mean, not relevant to us then. Actually very relevant to us.
Can I just have one thing, just saying that I think that I will also just don't be put off by people on LinkedIn making it seem way more complicated than it actually is. These people have an interest in doing that. They are. It's AI. They're it's AI, right? And they're gurus who are trying to basically say they have the secret sauce that will make it so successful for everyone. So it's not that complicated.
They're the first to say TV's dead. They're like, TV's dead. It's not dead. Like I said, Time Team's massive now, and that's TV was built and birthed out of TV. The platforms are changing, the opportunities are changing. And
there's different little rules to learn and stuff. There's things that anyone can learn them. It's just still making good content and getting people to watch that stuff. Just be Don't be put off by those people, that's all.
I think that's so right. Yeah, just to demystify it, it is the same thing. The process is the same. There's nuances and differences, but at the end of the day, we're all making stuff.
So to summarise that in terms of top tips, and watch digital content, right? Make digital content. I think one of the sort of traps that we all get stuck in coming from a linear background is that traditionally in that career trajectory, you might start as a researcher and then there's kind of layers above you until you get to executive producer, and then you get to the commissioner, and then eventually the audience, you're so far removed from the audience in that structure, whereas in digital you can immediately access the audience. And there was a question that came through actually, which I think we've sort of answered, which was talking about training for freelance scenario in these areas, which I'm sure there's ways that can be done, but actually the whole point of this is that you can do it yourself. You know, you just need to. I mean, when we started to look into digital content as a production company about 12 months ago, I just started making social media, and my first ones were terrible, and no one watched them. And then it clicked, and I got how to do it, and suddenly it's like, wow, you know, I'm getting more views than Saturday Night Live on a shot of me washing the dog. So you know, so I think making it is absolutely right. I also really agree with Chantelle that just sending a CV, or like I get a lot of messages on LinkedIn, people saying to me, "Hi, you work in TV, I work in TV, let's talk, we should just chat." And that would be very nice if I could do that. But actually, the ones I'm going to talk to, the people say, I'm an art director, I hear I could have a chat because this is what I'm focused. And then you're kind of like, okay, now I understand why I need to talk to you. And I think I talk about that quite a lot on LinkedIn stuff. It's like, basically say who you are and what you can do and what you're going to do, and that will move you ahead of other people who are just offering a very generic, like, let's have coffee. I don't think that's enough.
It's no longer rigid anymore, is it? That's the whole point, I think. I think you can go in and rather than just interview, hope for the best and leave, there's other ways that you can have an effect on the outcome. And it's like, with us as well, what we do, it's not just saying let's deliver this show and that's it. It's like, is there any added value that anyone can bring to the production? Is there someone who got a good idea for social and it's not even part of the deliverables that we've commissioned? We're happy to just create opportunities wherever there's appetite or opportunity to do so. So good ideas will always come through, more so than I reckon in traditional linear sense, because there's so much, there's indies as well now who are delivering shows for Channel 4, but just going, we're going to do some social on the side of it. Do you want it? And they'll be like, well, actually, maybe not, but you go ahead. So it's just like, if you can do that, then suddenly, as a digital commissioner, I'm interested in that indie and those people working and doing that stuff on the side, because I'm like, cool, they're really smart, they're thinking about it in a different way and just creating opportunities out of what they've got to play with, essentially.
So the reality really is, as we sort of come to the end of the session, is that actually the way you approach trying to get work and trying to get jobs is very similar to how everyone's been doing. I think the key hurdle that you have to overcome is just being intimidated by being different or feeling very fast or not quite knowing who's doing what. But actually, once you get over that and you just go for it, it should be a fairly similar process, right?
Very much. I mean, just very quick case study. So, what our subsidiary company History here, which is a history publisher, have our own SVOD
Great
service.
channel.
Oh, thank you so
Really
much.
good channel.
Oh, I appreciate that. So we have an SVOD service, you can subscribe, very affordable. But we make 50 original films for that every year. The duration's about 40 minutes each, but it's now, because of kind of how good tech is, you can make it, like each episode I won't tell you how much it costs, but it is a tenth of what it would cost on a TV tariff, but it looks the same, it has the same editorial rigour, and the production values are great, and it's all made by our director of programming, Bill Lark, who was at Lion TV as their director of specialist factual for 21 years, and then he left to come to us, and he loves it. He's having the time of his life because, well, slightly different case in point, because obviously it's self-commissioned, so he's doing his own thing, but he loves it because whereas before he was spending so much time making one show and commissioner notes and so on, he is just making his own thing with his own team over and over, such variety, and yeah, I've never seen a happier man. So if he can do it, and he's been in the industry for 30 years, it's possible for everyone.
Also, we all work for companies and are trying, like, we're talking from that perspective. I think there's a whole other world out there of, I think that's our time is on. There's a whole lot of people out there. There's a lot of content out there being made by creators individually, and self-publishing it. And they're small teams. You're still needing people like the people in this room. If you look at someone like the comedian Finn Taylor, he has the biggest comedy podcast in the UK. 40,000 subscribers paying at least £3 a month.
He hates us. He's like, Channel 4, we don't need Channel 4.
Yeah, I know. I tried to
Don't need Channel
cast
4.
him on a Channel 4 thing. And
He's like, no, I don't need it. Because it doesn't need commissioners anymore, that's the point. It's like you're going beyond that. There's an old, outdated model, in fairness, so it works in certain ways, but you know, it's such a 360 world we live in now.
Absolutely, it's so fragmented. So think about those kind of micro teams. Finn's probably got 5 people making that show with 40,000 people paying £3 a month. That's a good return.
Happy days. We've probably got time for like maybe 1 or 2 questions. We've got about 5 minutes. Does anybody, before we wrap up, anybody have any burning questions they want to ask at all? Yeah.
Hi, so you were saying earlier about how like obviously with linear there's kind of clearer structure in terms of how to start off, like how to research at AD. What does that look like in the digital space?
It's faster, I would say, because teams are smaller, because budgets are smaller. And that's why I like digital, actually, because I can rise up much faster, because, again, it's how much you can take like that. As long as you're open-minded and, again, roles are a bit more fluid, you will rise up pretty quick. It's still got the same, you need a hierarchy, obviously, otherwise something wouldn't get done. But probably the steps are smaller, and actually the definitions of the roles are different. You know, like we were saying, production manager is different, more like a project manager. Producer can mean quite a different thing in the digital space. So there's still a ladder, but I'd say it's a shorter ladder.
I would say get your foot in the door, and then you can move. It's like I've had a young woman called Erin Bites in Labigo, who was a production coordinator. I thought she was good at editorial. She's now one of their senior editorial producers in the company. And there's a young woman called Maya on my team right now who's a talent booker. We're going to give her opportunity to direct episodes, to do things, because it's all hands on deck.
It really is the promised land, isn't it? I mean, my God. Any other questions at all? At the back. On the left, sorry.
Me?
Yeah.
It was just in recent months I have been trying to apply for jobs in the digital space, but so often the adverts say they want people who are digital natives or have understanding of algorithms and those kinds of things. And so I sort of think, well, I don't have that. So obviously I'm taking on board your advice about make content, try and learn that. But one still has to apply for things. So is it important to have the digital native skills if you don't have them? Clearly not, because you're saying you want specialist skills in factual or whatever they might be.
Before we answer, Jeff, what is your job role? Just out of interest, just that might be
So
helpful.
I make docos in unscripted television.
As a director?
As a series producer, I
Series
think.
producer, okay, brilliant.
I was going to say, to be honest, no. I'm like, I don't think you need to really have a full understanding of the algorithms and all that kind of stuff before. Bear in mind,
YouTube don't even know their algorithm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No one understands the algorithm.
Yeah. Also, again, it's endless. It's been going for so long. I think it's more just like get a grasp for it that works for your pace. But when I first started AfF, I didn't know nothing, and it was so confusing, and it took me such a long time to even just dip my toe in. But you also want to find the right company who's going to help guide you a little bit to have an understanding about it, because again, I got a job solely on skills. It wasn't me knowing. I don't even watch football, and somehow I'm the lead PM in the sports division. I've been there for 3 years, and I still don't understand football, and I still don't understand how it works, sort of like, you know, on YouTube, and how it kind of works on the audience side, because I've ever only known it on TV linear. So I think it's just like take a minute, give yourself some grace as well with it, but just start talking to people. Like, there's so many people in these social aspects, in these these networking groups that we're all just talking. Like, there's WhatsApp groups you can join, there's LinkedIn groups you can join. But I don't want you to think that you're alone in that situation, because you're definitely not. I think you just need to converse with people a bit more, and then you'll realise that everyone's in the same boat, but it is finding the right company that it fits, because I don't think everyone after was in that same space. We've all had very different entries into it. We've all got a very different understanding of algorithms, of YouTube, of TikTok, and all that how it works. So
I also think you probably actively consume some content in some space via your phone, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, whatever it may be. Whatever you like, just note it down and start understanding that is what you're into. Like, I watch loads of DIY videos, that's kind of my only main use for YouTube. But like, in honest, it's self-help essentially. But that doesn't work well when, like, if I was to tell someone that I was trying to go for a 4.0 job, it wouldn't make sense. But the point is, I can still say that I'm actively on YouTube. I enjoy YouTube. I really like it. I understand why that creator speaks to me because he makes things simple to understand. It's just about trying to work out what your sell is, about how your habits can benefit you finding a job. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, but we're all using the algorithm. It's affected all of us.
Yeah, I could not agree more with what you said. Like, when you watch something, think about why you clicked on the video, why did you stay to the end of the video, what did that creator do, look at the video performance, look at the engagement, look at the likes. That's how we all understand the algorithm. Like, there's no book to read in terms of going that YouTube will give you that will say this is how it works. It's looking at what is successful out there and applying that to what you can make and what you want to do.
And docs are massive on YouTube.
Johnny Harris, check out Johnny Harris channel.
So many docs that you could just kind of, I mean, I'm sure some of the docs you made now have probably been uploaded if you ever did any Channel 4 stuff to YouTube. So it's just seeing how the audience interacts with your content, because, like I said, Channel 4 just put everything up there. So have a look at how your shows interact. Like, even episodes Come Down With Me or Homes Under the Hammer are doing massive numbers because it doesn't matter what the content is, there's an audience there and they will watch it.
Zandland. You guys know that's what about Zand.
Yeah, amazing.
They do some really good doc stuff. Ben Zand, if you want to talk to.
And I'd also say don't wait for the applications. Feel free to be proactive, find the companies you want to work with and reach out to them anyway. And just have that kind of initial conversation, because they will be open-minded.
also, sorry, just sorry, I'm so sorry. I was gonna just be honest about it. Like, don't really just don't try and bullshit people. Like, if you're confused by it, if you're not sure about it, if you're new, like, to YouTube or whatever in general, still tell us, because no matter what, you still have a skill set that we want to know about. You have a background that could be so great that it still could make sense within this world. It just be honest about it, because I think there's this world where you have to go in with like, I need to know everything. You don't. It's honestly, I promise you.
I still don't know so much. Like, I look at that and go, God, there's so much out there. I know nothing. But you just kind of take a little bit and focus on that, and then you can kind of become a little bit of an expert in that space, and then you won't watch what I watch. Yeah. There's no way that's how algorithms work. So I can go, well, I really like this. I know what does well there. No one else is an expert in that, just me. So that will be true for everyone.
A video pops off and you're like, I have no understanding of why that video
is popped off. Yeah.
Great. Well, listen, guys, that we're out of time now, but thank you very much. I've learned a hell of a lot from that session, so